board is on. Yes, you do, Rock, Angela. All right. So we are going to get started with Webinar Wednesday, and today we're going to be talking about something pretty darn cool. And what we're going to be talking about is something that all of us probably have near and dear to our hearts. We all are somehow, we know one another through different channels and different venues, but a lot of us have met in ABBO, and ABBO is accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. And it's a wonderful, wonderful tool to use as a means to express how you can build your own Facebook group that will allow you to get lots of customers, lots of attention, lots of engagement. And what I love about what we've learned over the process with building ABBO is we've not only built how to grow it, we've also learned how to structure it. And there are so many funny little nuances, if you will, with building a Facebook group. And one of those is as simple as the cover page. And if you notice in ABBO, we change those every day for our hosts and sponsors. We have socially responsible sponsors in ABBO, and they are there to ask and answer questions, but possibly promote a little bit of their products, but only products we really like. Karen, we're definitely going to have you in as a guest host soon. Karen Magno is with us today, and she is the founder of Transaction Pro TPI. So many of you know about this product. It's a course on a Studemy, formerly schoolofbookkeeping.com, and a product that is just, it's in your quiver, right? I mean, it's one of the tools you've got to have. It's like the pliers in a plumber's toolbox. You've got to have it. Because we just had somebody the other day say, I've got thousands of transactions in QuickBooks, I need to remove them. Oh, well, use Transaction Pro Deleter. Very cool product. Thank you, Karen, for being here and for building that for us. So anyhow, so when Karen comes into ABBO, and we're going to give her banner up at the top one day, and we're going to allow her to, let me make sure that I've got this properly. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So when she comes into ABBO and we put her banner up, we're going to go ahead and design her banner. We have to make sure it fits properly. And I don't know if you've noticed, but even for ours, because we're still working on fine tuning it, but if you have over 100K on your image, Facebook will automatically reduce it in size. They'll compress it, and your colors will go bad. And this is a problem, and this is something we all deal with. We get around it by using JPEG instead of PNG and converting it to RGB, sRGB beforehand. And we do these things in Photoshop. And some of you are like, whoa, that's way too much. And it is, but I'm going to show you a little bit about it and how it works, and you'll kind of get the gist of it. So that's one part, but we're going to go into a variety of different things on how to just do it right, what is important to do, and then we'll have just a brief discussion about moderating and curating, because it's an exhausting responsibility, but it can be very lucrative. I'm going to show you 3 other sites, maybe 4, that we've been building with some of our clients, and they're working brilliantly. Okay, so with that, let's get started with ignitization. Webinar Wednesday. The phonetic spelling, for those of you that are having trouble, it is ignitization. So it's this cool website we decided to build as a sister company to a Studemy, formerly schoolofbookkeeping.com, that offers not just content focused for accounting professionals, but it still does, because that's our roots. But it's because let me explain that. Accounting is so important to building a successful business. I don't care what you do. Your bookkeeper, your accounting professional is your best friend. And if you do it yourself and rely on yourself completely, great. But most people don't. And let's just face it. I mean, having somebody great in that area is a make or break deal. Okay. I work with Emily Clark, both with 74 Degrees and with SOB LLC, which is the parent of Studemy. And she is a remarkable bookkeeper. She is our acting controller. She does a great job. She really keeps us in line, and we love that. So while we focus on that type of thing, ignitization was built to kind of expand on it and really talk about things like business formation. I have a client that asked me, how do I structure an LLC, and if I'm a sole proprietor, do I file my DBA first? And I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you what I've done from my experience. And I can tell you how to use tools like LegalZoom and save a bunch of money, but not jump too far in and spend on things you simply don't need. Spend the $300 instead of $3,000, get yourself an LLC, and then the rest you can do yourself, and that's really cool. So that's what Ignitization is about, all kinds of cool content. And today we are doing Webinar Wednesday. Every Wednesday we do a webinar on Ignitization, plus all the other content you see down below. And then there's the ProIgnite program. You can book a free consultation here. Because we are focused on the Brevity Initiative, I'm going to scoot along. Everything we're doing from this point forward, we're going to pick up the pace. These webinars are now 20 minutes max. We're doing that because we know that you've got clients to serve. You need to get your education in, but at the same time, you need to get back to business. We're sensitive to that on both Ignitization and Astudemy, and that's how we'll be rolling in 2016. So let's talk about ABBO. All right, I'm going to kill the keynote here, and we're going to jump right in. And I'm going to show you. Now, first of all, you see down below here, I have Safari and I have Chrome. And I use Chrome on my right monitor, and I use Safari on my left. And everything Google-esque, I put in the right one in Chrome because Chrome likes Google stuff better. I also put everything that is Astudemy or School of Bookkeeping related on the right monitor, and everything that is 74 degrees on the left monitor. So when I log into PayPal, I use my left monitor for 74 degrees. And when I log into PayPal for Astudemy, I use the right monitor. I like to compartmentalize things. But today, for you, I'm going to bring over my Chrome browser to the left monitor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Facebook. And my Facebook automatically goes to accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners, or here's the URL above. And the reason why I do that is because it allows me a quick glance at the most important site that we operate. And as you can see, we have 6,000, almost 6,090, 6,100 almost members, 50 new, which is awesome. And here's the cover, as we discussed. This is a photo that, so group photo or cover photo, they change it. Everything kind of changes with Facebook. But as you know, this photo is peculiar because, first of all, notice how we have to leave the space here because the title is going to take precedence over top of whatever we put there. So I leave a blank. Notice how it fits in there nicely. Same thing here. J@thedigitalcpa.com is the bottom of what I'm going to put on this piece in Photoshop when I'm making this JPEG. It's the bottom of it because I don't want join, share, notifications, and the ellipses to get in the way. So that's very important. Now, another thing, you can kind of see a little bit of pixelation from the compressing here. So let's go ahead and open up Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how this works. And it doesn't really make any difference. Almost every day I'm working on these. And one of the things that's fascinating about it is when I open up one of these, I go into, and you can see here I have Astudemy, Ignitization, and 74 marketing assets cleanly and clearly defined on the left in my Finder, and this is Mac, of course. You can do the same kind of thing with favorites on Windows. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick, we'll pick Astudemy because this is ABBO, and I have an ABBO folder. And in ABBO folders, I have the socially responsible sponsors, and I have a folder for the PSDs, and then I have the rest below. Now, these are the JPEG images or the final product, and the PSDs are the raw files that you work with inside of Photoshop. And the difference between a PSD and JPEG is that they have layers. And let me explain that to you right now. So I'll open up the Astudemy one, and these are the layers right over here. And layers are real simple. I can turn on and off layers. Here's the old logo that I turned off. I got rid of the green and went with red, so I just turned it off. I can now just delete that because that's not going to come back, right? And then here's an old School of Bookkeeping logo. That doesn't need to be there anymore. And this doesn't need to be there anymore. And this doesn't need to be there anymore, and so on and so forth. So I can clean this up to get rid of all these different things. But the point is I have control, and whether I put these higher or lower matters. If I take this logo and I put it below the rectangle, probably gonna have to go down further. So if I put it down below this rectangle, it's behind it now. I can grab the rectangle and bring it down below, and now it's in front. So that's how you move things from front to back. I like to keep it up high here. So in any event, so this is a logo or an image that I embedded by going place embed. And all I'm doing is taking another PSD or another Photoshop file, which is this logo that you see in front of you there, and I literally plop it in there on top of the work that I'm doing. Same thing with ABBO. This is just the ABBO logo that I created in Photoshop elsewhere, and then I place embed it, or you can link embed it, which means if you make changes to the original, it'll update in all of its linked versions of it. But this is a great way to create a quick logo, file, banner, header, whatever it is you want to do. And here's the secret. Now you can see right here, there's a mistake. You can tell right now, if I go back to ABBO, you can see right here that I don't have enough room. And if I put the Astudemy one up there, it's going to break. So what I really should have done, I'm going to hold the shift key and grab this little guy in the end. I'm going to bring it up here like this, and then I'll kind of find the center. And I'm going to have to eyeball this one because sometimes it picks up the edges of the other piece. Now, by putting it like that, I've got enough space at the bottom that it should fit nicely here. And I can always test it. I don't know what the measurements are exactly, but you can kind of tell, right? You can kind of tell that that is probably going to work. Okay, and then you can see the space I left here is the same thing. All right, so that's what you do. Now the interesting thing about making that cover image is now when I go to save it, I'm going to export as, and you have two major options in making graphics like this. And this is the same for all Facebook and Twitter and your YouTube channel art and your Google Plus art, cover art. I mean, this stuff is a nightmare, right? Luckily, we have this all figured out for you, and I can give you the templates. And I'd be happy to. Email eric@74ignite.com, and I will send you templates on PSD files that you can work with. Okay, so this we're going to save as either a JPEG or a PNG. We don't want GIF files or SVGs, PNG or JPEG. Now, because it's Facebook, we're not going to pick PNG, because if we do, first of all, we're going to go and we're going to see it's 35 kilobytes, which is great, but PNG files, Facebook has a tendency to reduce them in size, and we want to avoid that from happening, correct? So if that's the case, we're going to pick JPEG. Now, you notice the difference between when I pick PNG and I pick JPEG. Do you see how the background changes from white to checkered? PNG is a transparent file, end file, so to speak, right? You start with the PSD with the layers, and you can see it in the background. Once you create a JPEG, it's going to flatten that, and it's going to just put white in the background, and white's going to be there no matter where you put it. But if you make a PNG, it's going to keep it transparent. And transparent is awesome when you need it to be transparent. For example, if you have it on a black background, you want to put it on the green screen, as you see in my image right now. That's really cool. So if you're going to do, if you're going to need transparency, you pick PNG. But on Facebook, we're just going to go with JPEG. And then we're going to choose convert to sRGB, because that's going to try to make Facebook like it more. And then when we click export, I'm actually going to do this because I want to overwrite the file I made yesterday, because it had too much logo and not enough space at the bottom. So I'm going to overwrite that and replace it. And then the next time I need to use it, it's ready to go. So those are a couple of tips about how to create your cover image. So watch that back again slowly, and you'll get a better understanding for how that works. Okay, so we have, let me check our time. We got 12:22. So we're going to wrap up here in about 8 minutes. So the other things that I want to show you, and I'm going to show you with a different one. This is LuLaRoe Professionals. Emily Clark, our bookkeeper, created this. This was an idea that we came up with in an Ignite session. You can see she has 183 members. And what happens here, this is an awesome thing. Emily, and you can see Emily has not created her cover image yet. We're going to work on that today. And this is what happens by default. The users get put up here, which is kind of cool. So, but it's not promoting Emily's business in any way, which is why she created this. So what Emily did is she created this LuLaRoe professionals group because she works with LuLaRoe, the MLM professionals, and does their bookkeeping and has a number of clients throughout the area. And she's expanding, and they love her naturally, as we do. She's great at what she does. So she created this group to basically give them answers. And a lot of what she does on here is free. She just gives it away. She answers questions. And her hope is that anybody who's benefiting from her is going to grow their practice, grow their business, grow their sales, and eventually they are going to need Emily and not want to do it themselves. I mean, nothing better than somebody who dives into Xero or QBO or Sage One or FreshBooks, right, and starts blowing up. They're not going to continue doing their invoicing and reconciling, and God forbid they need to use Transaction Pro. You're not going to ask an end user to do that. These are for pros, okay? Transaction Pro is for pros. It's not a difficult tool to use, but you have to know your business. And it has some levels of complexity because it does amazing things. Business owners, if they're making grapes into wine, or they're cooking food, or they're selling widgets, or in this case, leggings, LuLaRoe, that's their core product, they're not going to be great at that type of thing. So Emily provides them with answers here in the LuLaRoe Professionals group. She asked me to come in one day, and I put in a little post that said, hey guys, would you be interested in a free webinar to learn how to, increase your sales? And it went nuts. They're happy about it. I'm going to gain new clients. Emily's clients are going to grow because of my involvement. Everybody's going to win as a result. An amazing way to build something like this. Now, let me show you back in ABBO a couple of things that you can see. I have it here in my favorites. You can add things to your favorites right here. Remove an ad. It'll say add, for example, if I'm on a page that's not already there. And then you can manage your favorites over here by clicking on this little guy and click rearrange. So if I want to put this ahead of this or whatever, I can drag and drop it and then click done. It's important to keep this favorites the way you want it. I use this X theme users group all the time. Ask an IRP is Carrie Kahn's group. This is just for members that she's working with. It's pretty amazing. I'm not going to show you too much about that. Here's another one. We're working with travel providers. We're just getting started with this. This is something that another client, Kelly Vincent, who's a CPA, she focuses on pilots and flight attendants and other people within this industry. So, and her husband is a pilot for American. So she is going to give answers on, you would not believe the dollars that are lost from a tax perspective for these types of folks that work in this industry. All the tips that they throw around, they're not getting, their fair shake here. And there's a lot of things that are expenses because of their travels, because of the layovers and the stayovers and whatever it might be, and the delays that they get hit on. And Kelly's helping them because she understands the business. So she's inviting all of these people. And once we get going on this thing will blow up. So that's another great idea and a great use for a group in Facebook. So going back to ABBO, I want to show you a couple of things about the group settings that are very important. So first of all, once you create it, I don't really care. It doesn't matter what you call it, but call it something that works great. If you can look again back in travel providers, we call this travel providers, pilots, FAs, and so forth, so on and so forth. It kind of gets a lot of people involved because of its name. Now, back in ABBO, it's accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. But what I want to make sure you understand is your web address. You need to have your web address as ideally suited as possible, but you certainly need to have it. A lot of people don't do it. I was in a group the other day, I won't mention any names, and it did not have this set yet. You can set this right away, and you can have whatever you want it to be. So, for example, if we opened up Facebook and we went to groups, ABBO, it's currently not available. So what I'm going to do with you on this event right now is I'm going to go to groups, and I'm going to create this ABBO group, where is it, ABBO US, and I'm going to go to this group and I'm going to edit its group settings, and I have ABBO US already created in there. So I'm going to create another group, and I'm going to call it just ABBO, and I'll add Angela. And since we have Karen with us too, we'll add her to it. And we'll make this closed and we'll click create. Now I'm going to put an apple on there. It doesn't really matter. This is kind of a silly legacy thing. Okay, now I'm going to go to the group settings and I'm going to customize the address and I'm going to call it ABBO. There's the problem. First thing we learn, why nobody has taken /ABBO is because ABBO doesn't exist. So we can call this ABBO 1. We can call it ABBO, we already called one US. Let's call it ABBO OG, right? The original ABBO. And boom, now this is our actual URL. That is so important because in your marketing, you can start putting that in everything. And when you put your Facebook link at the bottom of a MailChimp email or whatever you use, or you put it somewhere else, you put it on your website, whenever you put the Facebook link, you can put a link to your group rather than a link to yourself personally, for example. All right, what else is in here? Pick a group type. Not really all that important in this case. But again, if you look at this one, you can see personalize your group. There's no photo here, right? So here, let's upload a photo. And we'll go and we'll pick that one we just made earlier. And here it is, a Studemy. And let's see if we did it right. And look at that, it fits beautifully. I'll click Save Changes. And we have a new ABBO group just like that. Okay? Now, what else do we need to do in group settings? Now, let me explain a couple of things. So, members and admins can post to the group. I think you get that. Descriptions are important, but what I use them for is putting in the rules, a little marketing for us. You can see here, we have ABBO Answers is brought to you by Studemy. Enroll at studemy.com. People can link to it right there, learn about the ProIgnite program, and then what our purpose is, a little legal disclaimer, and then some clarity on ABBO policy, which we just added recently because we've had some issues. If you get banned in ABBO, here's how you can get unbanned or understanding. So, you can use that description for all sorts of things. And then lastly, one of the things that I wanted to make sure you understood is when you have members in a group, okay, this is big, whoever started the group as admin is always the king. Meaning, if you join as an admin a day later or a minute later, you're going to be able, you can be removed by the king. If the king steps down and removes himself from the group or herself from the group, then you become the king. It's all based on pecking order. So you can have 8 admins, but only the first admin owns and controls the real admin rights over the group. You can't remove the king. I am the king in ABBO in this case. I cannot be removed. Seth David was once the king. He's no longer a part of ABBO, and when he stepped down, he made me the king. So that's an important thing. You can also see that Jackson Greenspan is here. I think we should make him admin as well. He's my son. Okay, so that's how you make somebody admin. And then if you want to make somebody a regular user or remove them from admin, you do it right here in the gear, and you can remove them as admin or remove them as from the group. One last thing on banning. So sometimes you'll see somebody will post something and you won't like it, and there's probably nothing in here because we're very adamant about it. But let's just say this Eric Greenspan guy who posted something about this webinar, we don't like it. We can delete this post, and because it's me, it's not giving me the option. But if this was a different user, let's go see what Z's putting here. We can click delete post and remove user. So if I remove the user, I can do it with the intention that I just want him to be aware of the fact that we're removing him, but I can also ban him so that he can never come back. We have a relatively large ban list, but we have over 6,000 people in the group, and that's why. Now, I'm not going to do this because I think this PSA that Azid put in here is actually useful for our group. However, you can tell that nobody liked or commented on it. So I'm going to keep my eyes open on this person. This person has no friends, or not exactly sure. I'm definitely going to keep my eye on this person. You kind of, when you look at people on ABBO to see if you should ban them, you can kind of tell when you're curating, because that's a large part of what we do, curating and moderating. Curating is not allowing a certain person to join, and moderating is once they're in there, making sure that, you know, their content is good for others. We don't like angry, grumpy people that aren't nice. And that's very important. And we usually ban now, ask questions later, because we just don't have the energy or the time to do it. And that's okay. All right. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. Just a real quick reminder. This is Webinar Wednesday. It happens every Wednesday at noon. And today's was about building and managing and leveraging an amazing Facebook group. We can talk more about leveraging in the future and maybe offline. And I'll jump onto ABBO after we post this, and we'll talk about that more. But I think you guys probably, if you're on ABBO, you know how we use it and how you use it. We make a lot of friends there, don't we? And these happen every Wednesday. Next week's will be even cooler than today's. This is brought to you by 74marketing.com, a division of 74 Degrees. The ProIgnite program is found here. You can book a 30-minute free consultation at 74marketing.com. Thank you so much for coming today, folks. We look forward to seeing you on our next Ignitization Webinar Wednesday.